Greetings, people of the interwebs. Jake here with co-host Dave, and
It's been a while.
yeah, it has. We've all been pretty busy with work and just everything going on in
The
life.
holidays are kind of rough.
Yeah, it really is, especially in our line of work. But joining us today, and I think I'd mentioned it like before in a previous video on the YouTube channel, but after several months of scheduling things around and just trying to get everything in order. Finally, we have special guest writer and artist Ray Coffman.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
If we had an applause button, that would be
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it. No, I'm not doing much. Just working, doing good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Again,
Awesome.
especially now that the holidays are over,
Yeah,
we can kind of
back into the swing of things.
rest a little bit.
Regather your energy a little bit.
Yeah, which has been it's felt great. Could do without the snow, but that's a whole
Yeah.
other thing. So I guess why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your comic you've been working on?
Okay, well, I started just doing art in Lexington. Now I'm kind of regionally known, which is good. I'm kind of spreading out. I want to be.
Open up in the world.
I'm kind of moving, targeting East Coast this year. What I do is I kind of specialize in comic and manga artwork. That's kind of where I started kind of cutting my teeth on. I have a graphic novel out. It's a fantasy adventure graphic novel called Aurora, which is really doing well. It's independent. It's just published through me. It's on iTunes and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
It's doing really well. You can get on my website too. But this year I'm really focusing on kind of stretching my legs back into fine art. I've got a series of fine art pieces I want to do, continuing the storytelling. And I've got some other creative projects I'm getting ready to start. But I probably shouldn't even mention it because I can't really talk about it because I have no idea when they'll be delivered or even when they'll be started. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I noticed, I think on Twitter you had a painting. Was it the Zelda?
Yeah. I did that for a buddy of mine. His name's Mark. He's doing some Twitch streaming stuff, and he wanted a new logo and a new background piece. He's like, just do a comic arty kind of background piece. And I was like, well, how about just do like a watercolor acrylic thing for you? He's like, that'd be even better. So, but yeah, that's what I'm focusing on right now. And right now, just been hard and heavy hitting Aurora and getting more volumes out. We just successfully backed Kickstarter back at the end of October. So the target was the end of February, but it's looking like it might be more mid-March now, just because of snow and dad stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a new dad, so
That was another reason why it took a while to get everything together. 'Cause I think when we first brought this up, this was back in like May, I think. I think
he was on the way.
Yeah,
He was on the way. Yeah.
And so I think sometime shortly after that, I thought about like reaching out to you, but then I think it was on Twitter or something like that. You had mentioned that you just had your child. So I was like, well, probably not the best time. Obviously, priorities.
Right. I think at that time he was right around I think 5 or 6 weeks old or something like that. So it was back in the summer.
Yeah.
And
congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. It's awesome being a dad. It reshapes your priorities. And people have been mentioning on Twitter and stuff, it's like, man, you're really cranking stuff out. I was like, well, it really makes you up your drive, put the pedal to the metal for an old expression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I
but
was
it's
about to say, how do you think that affected the art, or has it yet?
oh, it absolutely has. Whatever you're doing, I think when you become a new parent or whatever, it really either. I think I know some people it's made them miserable or whatever, but for me and my wife, we were ready, and it really just made us better. It makes you increase your drive and makes you want to be better at what you're doing. Yeah. And really not just kind of pursue it, but really just actively grab it by the throat, pursue it. So that's kind of the mode I'm in right now.
Okay. Yeah, because again, if but I guess where can they follow you on Twitter?
Well, on Twitter, you can follow me at Coffman20XX. That's COFFMAN20XX. And people always ask me what the 20XX is about. I'm going to give you all exclusive right now. I'm a huge Mega Man fan.
Okay.
So the year 2000X, I was like, I don't want to be too on the nose with it, so I threw another X in there. Some people were like, what is it you do? I was like, no, that's not 3, it's 2. It's 2 X's. Yeah. So, but yeah, they can follow me there. You can follow me. My Facebook page is just Ray Coffman Art. And you can look at me on Patreon, Ray Coffman on Patreon. So patreon.com/Ray Coffman. So
I'll be sure to put links in the description for all this stuff.
Yeah. So, and I have 2 websites. One is for me. I make it easy for people. It's just RayCoffmanArt.com. And Aurora, which is my fantasy graphic novel, you can go to aurora.com, auroraofficial.com, but it's not spelled like Aurora Borealis. It's spelled like Araura. And people tell me all the time, like, why didn't you just make it the other way? I'm like, well, because there's a reason that I can't tell you right now because that spoils some story elements. So.
Also, again, it's like it's
talking.
and it's fantasy. I want to be a little different.
And it's different, you know. Who wants to, call it Plaid 68? You know what I mean?
That's kind of cool too.
Yeah. Hey, I'm looking for a name for a band, so it might be.
That'd be perfect.
Right.
So I guess like what kind of like inspired your first kind of. What was the first thing that like popped in your mind like when Aurora, like was it like the name that popped in your head and you're like, okay, what is this, what do I want to do with this?
Oh, yeah, it's funny, nobody's ever asked me that before, but there's a good story. Like when I was in college, I was writing a fantasy novel. And the place that all of this energy and things came from was Aurora. It's just like it is in the story, but the premise of the story is very different in the beginning. It was called Medora, like these medallions that you would collect the energy with. Because this was when the hope craze was going on, when all the big things were that you would see in stores and stuff were like collecting stuff, like games, and like Pokemon was big and Digimon was big,
I remember those days.
And there were other American things that were all about collecting stuff in certain things. I was like, well, in my head, I was like, how can I cash in on this?
A genius move.
But so I created this idea with these medallions and all that kind of stuff, which that stuff isn't even in the story now. Like the final version of Aurora that you see out now is kind of like the 7th rewrite of the tale, basically.
Okay, so this has been like an ongoing process for several years.
Which is why there's a huge mythos for it. There's like, I'm getting ready to put out a series of short stories and an art book that's all about, it looks like this thing's been in development for like years, and it has, but nobody's been seeing it. It's been in development in my room. But that's basically how it started. It was like a MEDAURA, like medallion, auras and a medallion. But it came from Aurora. So aura is in the word, and AR is in the beginning of it.
So does Medora still exist anywhere?
In the deep recesses of old notebooks I haven't opened in
so basically,
old tomes.
So basically at some point you'll release like your own version of like the Silmarillion, where you'll have all these deep cut like stories and like ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was actually, I was talking to my wife and a couple of buddies about it, and I've got all these notes on my computer and like notebooks and stuff like that, where even some on my phone, where I was like, I will never tell some of these tales.
Yeah.
And my goal in the end is kind of like, you mentioned the Silmarillion, kind of like Tolkien originally when he wrote all that stuff. He wanted to create a world where people could tell their own stories.
Yeah.
Well, his family got a hold of it, and they're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my goal. When this is over, I'm telling this main tale, but I want to
Do some editing?
So yeah, like you were saying, you wanted to have like kind of like again like in the Silmarillion, like or like the appendices of Lord of the Rings books, where people, again, someone could kind of spin it off in their own story or something like that.
Right. Yeah. You could easily take the basis.
So basically, like you were saying with the appendices and just some of like these I guess like side bits of information, like your goal is to kind of like let other people, I guess at some point, kind of take over and do their own stories within the universe that you're creating.
Exactly, yeah. I plan on telling this tale for about 7 or 8 years. I don't want to do it all my life. I've got other projects I want to get to, so I do want to create a place where people can tell their own stories. Other writers and artists who don't know how to get into the business, like I didn't know how to get into the business, or even have the confidence to independently do stuff. Give them a place where they can do stuff and be seen. The big thing is I want people to feel like they're a organic part of this world, because when it comes down to bare bones, I can't tell the story and take time to tell the story if people aren't buying the book. So if they're not fans of it, not enjoying it, and I'm not putting 100% into it, I can't expect this thing to grow. So that's kind of where that comes from.
So if you did, I guess like in the case like, so I guess like since you have like this planned out for about like 7 years, so do you have kind of like a vague idea of like kind of beginning, middle, end, and like some of the pieces?
Oh yeah, it's all written. It's all written. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
It's all written on paper, so no hacking by computer. But yeah, it's all completely written. And the thing is, like, I've got it outlined, and big parts are written. As far as like Anea and Renzia, there's a point where Anea becomes the focal main character. There's a point where Renzia is the focal main character because they go off and do their own things.
Yeah.
Once things are set in motion and the big bads kind of come out and things are exposed. There are other characters, and the great thing I love about the story, telling the story, is the side characters aren't throwaway characters. Like just the other night, I was writing some stuff for Volume 2 with 2 characters, and I went in the living room. I told my wife, I was like, "Oh, this just wrote itself.
Yeah.
These two characters are this,
Yeah.
you know? So it's exciting when you can do that, because I started by just wanting to create really good characters. And then I think when you create good characters that are relatable, no matter what genre you're telling, the story writes itself. Because you're like, oh, this character would talk like this, or say this, or react this way, or this one would react this way. But when they don't, it's intriguing for the audience who already knows those characters. You know what I mean? Like, you talked about Lord of the Rings earlier, like, you know, if Legolas pulls a dwarfish move, which he does later on, he actually becomes dwarfish in his attitude, you know, hanging out with Gimli. That's intriguing for the audience. You know? So things like that.
And I guess another thing that I do like that, you know, how you're saying that you're kind of the side characters, they aren't just like kind of throwaway characters. Like, they're actually there not only to, again, progress the story further, like I imagine in Volume 2, but also they're there for exposition without, again, just kind of beating you over the head and being like, this person is from this place, this is their, you know, goal, and the end game. It's kind of like just casual conversation with, like, one of the main characters and a side character, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, you just kind of learn a little bit more about this world.
Yeah, exactly. In Volume 1, I name dropped some areas, some places, some locations, some cultures.
Yeah.
And the main bad guy in the first volume, it speaks a lot about his culture, you know. In Volume 2, we get into another culture, but it's conversational. I don't want to beat you over the head, like you said, with, you know, oh, this area is known for this, and their cash crop is blah, 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 and the climate's like this time. No, people don't care about that, really, unless they want to get into it, but it talks about the characters, and the side characters, they talk about these things, and they interact with the stuff that's going on, and as you read what the side characters are doing and up to, and they all get their shine at some point, like... They get their, if you're familiar with Naruto, they get their Shikamaru moments. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. There's no throwaway characters. And when a character is lost in the story, it's a big deal, no matter how big or small they are, you know? Because the way I write, you know, in stories like this, characters die, you know? So when I do write a character to die, side characters, it's important. What they did was important. You know, not just like, oh, you know, that's kind of heartbreaking for people who like that character. No, it has an impact on the narrative of the story.
Has there been a character so far where you were kind of afraid to kill him off because you were so attached to him?
Oh yeah, I've got one I'm working on right now, and and let me think. He was in Volume 1, so that's all I can say. He doesn't seem like that much.
Look out.
He doesn't seem like that big of a deal. He just has like a one scene kind of shot in Volume 1, but I wrote his exit. I think it's going to happen at the end of Volume 3, I believe. Okay, so
they still got a while to enjoy this character.
He's got a little while to enjoy this character. He's a relatable character, but his kind of character is he's let some things pass and let some things go that he wished he hadn't. And sometimes and this is getting heavy now, but like, you know, sometimes, you know, when you get, I'm 38, and so when you get up in age, you start thinking, you have a kid and you have a wife, you start thinking about what you're going to leave behind, you know. I remember watching Trigun. And
so that's one of the best anime.
So classic. And there's a lot of Fashion Stampede and Renzia too, but in more of kind of like a dickish kind of way, you know? Yeah. But when Wolfwood has spoilers, if you haven't seen Trigun, I'm not giving you a spoiler.
It's been out for like over 15 years, I think. Like 17.
Yeah. Came out like 98, so it's 20 years. But when Wolfwood dies, I was so hit because that at the time I just started writing stories, you know. And I was like, oh my God, that's the worst death I've ever seen, because he died realizing he had never done anything right and there was no time to fix it. Yeah. And then he's gone. I was like, oh my God.
But at the same time, that's kind of the beauty of that character's death, though.
Exactly. Exactly, you know. And so when I was doing this character, some other characters too, that is the death I go back to every time. I'm like, that is so tragic, because like, it just for like a celluloid character, you know, just this guy never existed or anything, but he was so well written. That's what moved me. That scene is what moved me to start writing comic books.
And I'd say it's fair, not just on like your.
That's when you started though, around.
Well, time, at the time I was writing just novels and stuff like that, and then some friends would come to me and was like, "You should do this comic book." I was like, comic book, whatever, you know. Yeah. And I was watching anime anyway, you know. But I was like, at the time I saw that, I was like, "Oh my God, I need to do this as a comic book." Yeah.
How did you realize the medium? Or
Yeah,
like to
just
work
the
that
power
way?
of the
Yeah.
medium, what you can do with the storytelling in that medium, basically, because you're taking characters that don't exist and you're making them real. So, in that respect, in my eyes and the way I go about things, you can shape that to, and a reader can shape that to whatever they want it to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to when you're watching a movie or something, you're kind of taking out of the realm of fantasy and making your own story, or reading a book even. You know, when you're reading a book, you're formulating things to how you perceive them, you know, but when you're watching a movie or a TV show or whatever, you're kind of taken out of that element, you know. But novels and comics and stuff like that, you're totally, the world is kind of yours. You know, you're being led through a story, but you're interpreting it and seeing it how you want.
So it'd be fair to say that like anime was kind of like your big, like I guess inspiration and influence for writing this, or I guess like the way you format, like not only the art style, but like even like the kind of the way you write it feels very much like, again, like a manga or like an anime, which again, like that is fantastic because I grew up watching anime and I watch it pretty much on a regular basis. And again, Trigun being one of my favorite, along with like Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop. Like 1998 was probably the golden year.
The
for
Space Cowboy year. Yeah, I tell people at every show I go to, and if you're listening to this and you've been by my table, you know I talk about Outlaw Star all the time.
It is like one of the, it's my all-time favorite anime because like for so many different reasons.
And everybody I talk to, about 80% of the people I talk to will say that. It's so underappreciated
It really
as far
is.
as like a marketing company standpoint. But they don't realize how much that influenced people. And like now, like when I watched that back in when it came on the Toonami, when it came on the after school block and all that kind of stuff, in the midnight run, I bought the 2-pack DVDs. There's 3 of them that came out. You know, I bought them. They were ridiculous, $25-$30. You know, but I remember watching that and I was like, this is a master study in character. So yeah, I just pick up the DVDs, and when I first watched it, it's really a master study in character design. Because as you know, I talked in Aurora, the story picks up in the Darklands, which is full of a bunch of badasses, marauders, and rogues. And you've got the Circle of Guardians, who are just the remnants of the Versailles Empire, what it used to be, and they're just trying to hold things together, keep it from going to hell. They're basically keeping the stitches in the wound. So when I was writing these characters, writing these scenarios, I went to Outlaw Star and I was like, well, this is perfect, you know? I was like, because it's kind of the same feel, you know? And, I was talking earlier about how, if you look at Renzia as a character, there's influences from a lot of characters and people that I know. But if you look at 3 characters, we just talked about the shows. It's Vash Stampede, it's Gene Starwind, and you can see that in the character, and it's Spike Spiegel.
Which, again, like they're all very similar characters, but also again vastly different. Because again, Vash is kind of that carefree spirit, but that's like the whole thing because he's done some things in the past that he wants to try and like get past. So that's kind of his almost like a facade. Like he's generally like a very kind of carefree guy.
He's trying to forget about it. He's trying to bury it.
Whereas Gene Starwind comes from like more of a tragic past, but again, he has that more carefree. Kind of
an aloof dickhead. That's what he's trying to come off as.
But like again, in a
but he's a good
way.
dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's a good dude, and you find that out.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about more so Gene Starwind and Spike, where they kind of have that same trait where like they're dicks, but they're lovable. Like they're endearing. Where like they still have a moral conscience, and they overall will do kind of what they have to do to, I guess, for lack of a better word, the greater good. Because Gene Starwind kind of gets thrust into this situation. It's like, well, I guess I'll make the best of the situation, and he just so happens to kind of do the right thing. Maybe not obviously his intention, but it's like, well, I'm here, might as well,
And kind of at the heart of those 3 characters, if you think about it, they kind of just want people to leave them alone.
Yeah.
They kind of don't want people around them because bad things happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was I went through a phase, as I think most of us did, late teens, early 20s, whatever. Creative types or people who are into kind of things we're into, you're like, man, it's not the status quo. It's not like what most people are like. Maybe I should just be left alone. Maybe I'll just do my own thing and just stay to myself, and be a bit of a recluse. And that's kind of how, with all that thrown in a blender, my experiences in those characters, because when I was going through that period, I was watching those shows, So I threw all that in a blender, and out came this character I'm writing.
And just in my opinion, those are some of my favorite characters. Like, I mean, that's basically Han Solo too, and Han
Yeah,
Solo
I
is
was
like
about to say.
most people's.
He's the
favorite
original
Star Wars
rogue. He's one of the
character.
best rogues, you know?
Yeah, like that scoundrel where, starts out just in for himself, but then kind of gets that heart of gold. And again, I imagine like all three of those characters, I imagine the creators were like, I'm going for a Han Solo type.
Yeah.
And again, they're all great, but they aren't just like a Han Solo ripoff.
My favorite Star Wars character for years when I was a kid was Han Solo. Now that I've gotten older, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, because I relate more with Obi-Wan now. I'm like, man, because I don't know if you watch Star Wars Rebels.
Yes. Or no, I haven't watched a whole lot of Rebels.
I haven't watched either, but a buddy of mine sent me a link to an episode. I guess it was the end of season 3. Darth Maul and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I did see that.
I won't talk about
the
it
show,
because I'm
but-
sure people haven't seen it, may want to watch it. But I was like, oh yeah, that's my guy. That was a good pick right there.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong there.
Yeah. So and plus, I love the concept of the wise and sage who's been around. Like, I've had some people comment like on my Instagram posts and stuff like, you got a lot of old characters in your story. I was like, well, yeah, man, because they're there to teach.
Yeah.
They're there to teach not only all the time giving lessons, but by watching them.
Yeah.
If you watch and study people who are older, I think there's a lot of beauty in like people who have aged, because like you see old people like at a convenience store or something like that. I stop and think, I go, they've got a story, man.
Yeah.
That they have
They've been
things that
around.
they wanted to do and didn't get to do, and things they did get to do, and they all have like an awesome story. You know, so when I write these older sage type characters, they're not all wanting to help. They're not all wanting. Some of them just like, I lost somebody I loved, or I didn't get to do everything I wanted to do. I didn't go to this place, and now I'm too old to do it. And or some characters like some people out there who are my age, like I really wanted to start that band, or I really wanted to do that art show. I'm just too old now, and I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just do it, man.
Like even if you're up in the age, like say if you're like in your mid 60s, you're still alive.
Just
do
do
it.
it. Let me tell you what, man. I love a band. It's a Japanese band. It's a metal band called X Japan, and they got back together in the mid 2000s. And those guys are like their mid 50s now, and they're still rocking when they can. I mean, they have health
we
problems
saw
and stuff
Ace
now.
Frehley from Kiss a couple of years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh yeah, see those
He's
guys.
Still going great, yeah.
Hey, you still want to do it? Do it. Just go do it. We live in the internet age, man. You can do anything you want.
Exactly, and that's kind of the beauty is it's
Yeah,
made.
really is the best time to be a
Yeah,
creator.
it's made bands, artists, or writers like yourself, because used to you had to go through the whole process of like record companies or like publishing, book companies and stuff like that. Whereas now you're like, I don't need you. I can just publish this, create a
the
website,
internet,
bam.
It puts the power in the hands of where
access.
it's supposed to be in the creators.
Yeah.
No matter what you're creating, it's a beautiful time to be doing it. It's an amazing time to be doing it. And all these other like big studios and stuff are getting on board with it. They're like, you know what? There's no stopping. The tidal wave has already hit the city. There's no stopping it.
I just want to embrace it.
Yeah, might as well just start the cleanup.
Yeah, and it's just better for the creator too, because even with like big authors like say George Martin who writes Game of Thrones, like they you still have a deadline. It's like, hey, you got to finish like your next book within like this amount of time.
So he does those?
Well, maybe not George Martin at this point, but like even, like bigger name like authors, if they
Neil
still have
Gaiman
like
or
contracts
something?
with
People
like
like
the book.
Stephen King still
Yeah.
has deadlines and people like that. They
Yeah,
still have deadlines.
and it's like, because again, even with Stephen King, as much great stuff as he's written, there's also some not so great stuff. Because again, that was probably the deadline where it's like, I got nothing, so I'm
There's
just
so much
gonna
of it.
write some stuff down.
What's the
and-
Family Guy joke where it's like, you got nothing less to do? Picks up a lamp. He's like, ooh, it's on.
Exactly. So
But in comic artists, comic book artists and writers, they have strict deadlines.
Oh, yeah.
In manga artists, I mean, look at manga art. They have a suicidal schedule, man.
Yeah.
I've tried in the past to do a schedule like they do, and they have assistants. I didn't know that at the time. But they have like 5 or 6 assistants working with them. So okay, I'll do this guy talking. You guys draw the town in the background. And I'm like, how do they do all this?
Yeah.
They don't do all of it, but there's still deadlines. Those guys have to turn something in every week, and a lot of people don't realize like. When you're starting out doing your own story, a lot of places want 500 pages up front.
what?
Yeah, they want like
wow.
Shonen Jump. Like before you even propose anything to them, they want 500 pages.
Wow.
Yeah, like Kishimoto Masashi, Tite Kubo, guys like that. They'd have 500 pages of their story done to turn in before it even got consideration.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's insane.
So they don't want to have to do anything? They're just, you did all the work.
Well, yeah,
throw it up
because
there.
you have to have like that buffer. It's
Yeah.
coming out weekly.
That does make sense.
Because you're going to get sick, you're going to miss time,
Yeah.
So it's got to keep up. But it's just an insane workload,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I imagine even the people like working on like Marvel and DC titles, because a lot of them are also working on multiple titles as well. Probably like 3, 4, maybe even more titles on top of like their own independent stuff. So it's like I don't know how they're able to do it. It's like, how do you have free time? How do you take a shower and like go to sleep at night when you have all this massive workload to do?
And I guess that is the trade-off too. Being independent, you have to do everything yourself. You don't have anybody to deal with the business side. And
right, unless you're super successful and you can pay people assistants and stuff to do that. You're pretty much your PR department, your marketing department, your art, your writer. I mean, but if that's how I want it most of the time,
I imagine it's more rewarding in that case, because again, when you do finish like even like one page of one of your panels, it's kind of like, oh yes, that's one more page down, and like
I can put it over in this pile, and wait for digital.
Yeah, exactly. so imagine like that again. It's a trade-off, but it's probably a more rewarding experience rather than like you like say writing the script, having someone else do the artwork, and then that go into like some other upper head honcho or something like that to get approval and be like, no, actually change this, instead of a sword they have an axe, go do that instead. It's like, why?
Yeah,
why?
Exactly. This way, and it's like I said before about the powers in the hands and where it's supposed to be with the creators. Now I do have my wife kind of serves as an editor. I have a couple of other art friends who I'll show them stuff every now and then, like, hey, what do you think about this? This flow right or whatever, and they'll give me some input and whether or not how far. So yeah, like I don't have like editors and stuff like that, except my wife is kind of my editor. I'll pass things along to her. She went to film school and all that kind of stuff, so I ask her about setting up shots and all this kind of stuff. I'll get her opinion, and I have some art buddies and stuff I'll pass things along to and get their feedback. Depending on how long it takes them to get the feedback or not, the changes will stay or not be changed or whatever. But it's a good time to be an independent creator, man.
Do you have any? I guess like. Do you have like any kind of words of wisdom for like, again, it's aspiring like comic writers or like artists or anything like that? Because like writer's block, like how do you get over writer's block? Are you one of those people that just sits there and like focuses until something comes to you, or do you like have to step away for a little while?
Well, I think it's good to be well-rounded, as far as like being a creative person. I think if you're an artist, you have other things you like to do, whether you play guitar or listen to music or even go work out or something, Like when I have writer's block or I have art block, I'll just put it down and I'll work on something else. Like I'll work on my website. I'll work on what marketing stuff I want to hit the next day. Like I'll turn my brain in a different direction, Especially being an independent creator, you have to be thinking about what posts you want to make. I know it sounds really mundane, but it's kind of the age we live in. If you want to be successful, you have to be on the social media. You have to post. You have to show what you're working on. Yeah, exactly. So if I'm having any kind of major block, I'll just move over to those things. Digital realm. Okay. I'll do some digital work on pages I just finished, like filling in tones or whatever. I mean, there's all different kinds of things. You can just be open. My biggest piece of wisdom will be open to criticism and be open to people who are going to come out and say, well, this sucks, or this is like this. Don't shut yourself down. Believe in what you're doing. Because I had some people early on that were like, oh yeah, this is like this, right? And it's like this. Like, well, I guess you can say that, but that's not what I'm doing here. Just be open to the fact that you're going to get people like that, and just push through it and win them over.
Cool. Let's see what some other notes I got here. So I guess who are like some of your more I guess like authors or artists, like who are, I guess, some of your biggest influences with, I guess, like whether it be your art style or your writing style?
My biggest writing influence, man, it goes so back and forth. I mean,
or do you have like several, like where it's just kind of just like
everything's in a vacuum. Everything's influenced me. The names that pop out first and foremost are, it's going to be a weird combination, Tolkien and Tetsuya Nomura, just because Tetsuya Nomura, when I played Final Fantasy VII, I was like, wow, it's engaging, because at the time I was kind of a jock. You know what I mean? I was like, play basketball, work out, play video games. Of course, I was a big gamer when I was a kid, but I got back into video games when I was like a senior in high school. Other than that, I was playing music or something like that. Tolkien, of course, we've talked about that. He created a whole friggin' world.
As you can see, my map of Middle Earth.
Exactly.
Really, all things like Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth, like I'm all for. I've spent hours just looking up things where I'm like, what's the significance of that part of Middle Earth? And then down the rabbit hole I go of like, researching like why is that significant, and then apparently it really is significant. It's not just a random name
Right.
or a location. But actually, I did kind of get the feel for like Final Fantasy a little bit, just because one thing that I like about Final Fantasy is obviously it is fantasy, but like it kind of combines like medieval magic with some modern technology. Like there's like gunslingers, there's like android type things. So like there are moments in the comic like with the two characters that I think Renji confronts in Finswell. They're like on this little jeep thing.
Yeah.
Because I think up until that point, it is kind of more or less like looks more medieval, and I was like, oh, cool. So like there is kind of this modern technology, I guess, in a way in this world.
And the visually the aesthetics, I love steampunk, cyberpunk looking type stuff, like Ghost in the Shell, you know. But one of my biggest artist influences has always been Jim Lee. You know, DC, he's just like super art god, you know. Him, and then other artists who have come along. Tite Kubo, I mentioned him, and some other guys. The guy, I can't think of his name, whoever did the artwork for Death Note, that artwork is so amazing. And then, of course, Yoshitaka Amano is my oldest favorite, because I was a big fan of Vampire Hunter D since I was little, you know. Funny story about that, like when I was a kid, my dad, you know, we used to have these mom and pop bootleggers, you know, video stores back in the 80s. He brings home a videotape of something called Monster Hunter, you know, and it was like a bad dub of Vampire Hunter D, and I loved it. And for years, when I was in high school, I tried to find Monster Hunter because it didn't exist. And then when Monster Hunter the games came out, I was like, oh,
it does exist.
And then I was like, wait, that's not what this is. And so I found Urban Vision released in like '98 or '99. It was that DVD of Vampire Hunter. I was like, this is it.
That was one, like, again, for younger people, because I remember, like, I guess kind of back to, like, something like Outlaw Star, like, that I remember, like, the first time that I watched Outlaw Star, you know, back on Toonami, I missed the last couple episodes, but again, like, I couldn't just buy them on, like, DVD. Well, actually, like, DVD were probably, like, super expensive at that time.
And it took a while to come out.
Yeah, and it took a while for them to, like, do the reruns. And then even when they did rerun, I would have to watch it from beginning to end, which I was perfectly fine with, because it's one of those few shows where, like, when I do get close to the end, I'm kind of like, I have to take a step back, because I want to savor the last few episodes. But, like, kind of the same thing. Like, you couldn't just stream anything. Yeah. Like, you couldn't just go into any store and be like, yeah, I want the, like, 5th season of, you know, Breaking Bad or something. It's just, you kind of had to wait until it came back on TV, or it's possible you may not even get the chance to see it again.
If it doesn't run again, you don't get to see it.
Yeah. And it was really frustrating. So, like, that's kind of the plight where if you grew up in, like, 80s, 90s, or pretty much any time past, like, or before probably mid to late 90s, you were kind of out of luck to get reruns on much of anything.
I remember a friend of mine, when Cowboy Bebop ended its first run, he goes, I didn't see the last episode, what happened? I was like,
it's like, oh, he's like, no, I can't tell that to you. You have to watch it for yourself. I was like,
you're out of luck, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you. Exactly. I was like, I'm not telling you. But yeah, that was what you were asking me. I get off subject. I get off on these tangents and I start telling stories. I tell my wife all the time. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, it really is.
But yeah, as far as like art influences and stuff like that, Yoshitaka Amano was my first big influence, you know, and then I read some 90s comics and stuff, and Jim Lee was all over the place, you know. His artwork is amazing. Like my hatching style that I use in my comic, which is really on display in Volume 2, when it comes out. And actually chapter 9, which is the first volume of Volume 2, will be out for my patrons on February 12th.
Okay.
And a week later, it'll be on iTunes and the website on February 19th. So you can get a taste of Volume 2 about a month before it comes out.
There you go. So like with Volume 1, 'cause I actually had the physical copy because you were selling them at Free Comic Book Day.
Very kindly signed for us.
Yeah. My pleasure.
You got that really cool Legend of Zelda print that you did. So like, do you distribute like the physical copies, or is it pretty much mostly just digital, and you distribute the physical ones like mostly at like, again, an event like a Comic-Con or?
You can absolutely purchase the physical copy on my website, on the AuroraOfficial.com. You can get it on there, and it comes with a little mini poster of the first cover and all that kind of stuff, and bookmark and all this other kind of, I sign them.
Yeah. So
yeah, if you pick it up on the website, I'll definitely ship you a copy and sign it and all that kind of good stuff.
Because I'm more of a physical media person, like, again, with my comics, movies, or whatever.
CD.
Yeah, clearly I've got like 200 something albums on my shelf over there.
Yeah, me too, man. I love holding a book, the smell of a book when the pages are flapping. You know?
Just like a brand new comic or a book, you just kind of open the pages like,
This is
Yeah,
mine.
Yeah.
This is mine. Yeah, and you can't sign a digital copy.
No,
You know what I mean?
You really can't.
I mean, you can, but who knows if you really signed? I could have put a
Yeah.
PDF over top of it or something.
Okay,
Copy
so
and paste.
if you're a physical media person like myself or like pretty much all of us here at the table, then go on
Well,
the
digital is available.
Yeah, digital is available too. Because
Everybody
again,
did.
that's obviously the way of the future with just digital everything.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you also have a game that goes hand in hand with the comic. And then you've got, I think you also have. Don't you also have like little kind of one shot issues or something like that that also kind of go hand in hand with the comic as well?
Well, the issues that I had were actually just the chapters that are in the volume.
Okay.
Now, I've got a collection of short stories that's getting ready to come out. It's going to talk about not only things that are currently happening in the world, but things that happened ages ago that are still kind of residually affecting, like the ripples in the water that is still affecting things. So,
Is that going to be a collection or just
yeah,
sort of...
it's going to be 10 short stories.
Okay,
and
cool.
I just recently got a Patreon funded back on my birthday on October 31st. And with that, you get the art book that's going to be coming out. They're going to get the collection of short stories and volume 1 and 2 and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, the game is in development, and I really don't have a release date because it's just me and one other person kind of working on it when we can. But the story is, it takes place 5 years before the beginning of Volume 1. And it kind of talks about it shows why some of the characters are where they are.
Okay.
You know, Renzia wasn't always an aloof, I don't care kind of guy. Originally, he came back to the Darklands, which were formerly this empire, this grand empire called Versailles. And it was cursed. Nobody knows what happened. It happened in one night. People were scattered to the winds. People disappeared. People turned up dead. And nobody knows what happened. So Renzia returns to what was once his homeland. He's got his chin up and chest out. And he's ready to save the world. But he realizes nobody else cares anymore.
Ah.
You know what I mean? So he gets to a point where he's like, why should I even care?
Yeah.
And then, bam, meet Renzia in Volume 1.
Interesting.
But the things that happen, I won't give away.
So would this be like a game on your website, or a mobile game, or
It'll be a mobile game.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, cool.
It'll be a mobile. I've actually communicated with people at Sony and Microsoft and
Awesome.
seeing what it takes to get a game published on their platforms. It's pretty hard. I don't know that it will be, but I'm making an effort to do
Where
it.
did you pick up those skills?
Yeah, I'm just networking with people,
Wow.
talking to people and getting emails basically. I'm building it in Unity, and basically what I've been doing is teaching myself. I know code, where I learned web design. I know how the concept of coding works. So just, I've always been the type of person that could teach myself to do pretty much whatever. So I've always had a passion, not so much for playing games. So yeah, I just taught myself how to do the gaming and all that, and I love the video game industry. I love the artistry of it.
Yeah.
Because they are all artists, taking a story and taking concepts and taking artwork and making it work in a way to where you can tell a story through a game. I mean, it's really incredible. But so I've always had a passion for that. I've always wanted to make my own game. And I thought, what better time and what better situation than now to try to do something.
Especially since it again goes hand in hand with your comics, so it's again you're reaching all the different demographics of audiences.
My end game is to, no pun intended, completely intended, however you want to look at that, is to have a way of telling stories in a multimedia kind of way. Interactively, pick up a book. I'm working with another guy named Bryce Oakway. He's in Lexington. He's a great creator, great artist, and we are sometime in 2018 going to try and work on the pilot pitch for an Aurora animated series.
Really?
Yeah, I've already been working on the little opening animation storyboards and stuff like that. And I've already got a song picked out. That's important.
Oh, wow.
That's super
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
There's a Danish band called Iron Fire. They're like a power speed metal band.
Fantastic.
And they actually gave me permission to use their music to promote Aurora.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. So we're working on that. So
Would this animated series be like an online thing, or are you actually going for like a network or?
I'm going to pitch it.
Okay.
If we get this episode done within a reasonable amount of time, I'm guessing it won't be ready. The first episode won't be ready for anybody to look at until 2019 if we get to work on it like we want to. But it's just two guys working on it. You know? So,
Which again, that's still pretty impressive. The fact that again you're all over the place with your comic, your video game. Like, literally everything you've got.
Kind of, all encompassing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Form
it's
media, but that's cool.
it's fun. It comes back to what I said earlier about you just want to do something good, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we live in an age where you can just do it. Download the program, go to YouTube University, and learn how to do whatever you
You
want.
pretty much can learn
And
anything.
I wish YouTube was around when I went and got my $40,000 graphic design degree because I wouldn't know anything right now. But yeah, so we're just going for it, and if we fail, then we failed. But we fail
You did it.
trying it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the new level of success is just knowing you tried something.
Yeah.
You know, because you never know what's going to catch fire.
Also,
You'd still have that episode you can put up on
Yeah.
YouTube or your website, or
And exactly, yeah.
and you may find more success that way.
My poor dead YouTube channel needs content, so I might have to put. I mean, that's what I would think about doing is if it gets finished, plug it, throw it out there, and put it on YouTube. And if it gets hits, hey, that's another way of showing these companies like, hey, look at all these hits this thing's got. Look at all the view time it's got. You
Yeah,
know,
there
people
are
watch
stories
this.
with like Andy Weir, the guy who did The Martian.
Mm-hmm.
Just put out that story on his website, or I don't know, he put it out for free, and
Yeah.
the studios
Yeah.
are coming to him.
And look at the Rooster Teeth guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean that Ruby. I mean, it just started as like a little thing they wanted to do on their own. And
Yeah.
now it's like a juggernaut.
and even bigger things like George Lucas went to like pretty much every studio or studio executive pitching Star Wars, but everyone was like, no, this is dumb or like not going to happen. And then
Yeah.
one person was like,
Well, yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah.
That's all it
Look at
takes.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
So again, I think that's the kind of encouraging that like you're not gonna let like if you pitch it and they don't pick it up, then it's kind of like, well, that's also the beauty is you got plenty of options, not just with like a network or a streaming service or again on your YouTube channel, your website, you have tons of options.
Yeah.
So it's like I think regardless it'll get picked up at some point in some form or fashion.
That's the goal. But by the time we do get that done, I'm going to have if I keep up with my current schedule, keeping up with the current schedule, I'm going to have 6 or 7 volumes out by the time if we get that done. Like I said, things could happen.
Mm-hmm.
We could both be like he could be on super successful project and I can't do it anymore. We just scrap it. Put out what I have. But the pilot episode is the first. It's like 2 chapters. First 2 chapters. So it basically begins where the manga comic, whatever you want to call it, begins, and it ends in the bar scene where Indra and Bryn are approaching Renzia. Is like, we're going to take care of this.
Okay.
That's where so you're going to get the opening with the assassin coming after poor Bilks, the drunk in the woods,
Yeah.
and you're going to get Renzia and Amina's confrontation, and then going to the bar and Amina fighting the assassin in the old gamble house that's everybody's been murdered in. I mean, so you're going to get a lot of content in that first episode.
And I think that's a good, it has a little bit of everything for, again, like a pilot episode, which is kind of the ideal, is they'll have, like, enough of, enough flavor of kind of like, here's the world we got, here are the characters we got, and here's kind of the tone and stuff like that. And I think that up to that point, the comic is a good kind of starting off point to be like, here's just a little taste of...
Yeah.
That's all the pilot is.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that would actually be a perfect, pilot episode for the comic.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like people have complained to me that we haven't seen Renzia fight. I'm like, every story opens with the main character having a badass fight scene.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't want you to get behind him that way. I want you to get behind him, not get behind him at all. Really, I want to have a main character that people just are like, well, he's just kind of like the rest of the characters.
Yeah.
Like, that's the point. He's just another dude in this place. But for those of you who read it and are into it, Renzia definitely your thirst for a big Renzia battle will be quenched in Volume 2.
Excellent.
There's without giving away too many spoilers or who it is or whatever, there's a big 3-chapter battle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just him reluctantly going ham, and so that's been fun to draw.
So I did really like the tease where again when those two characters are
The
confronting
fight at Finswell.
where
Skirmish.
the leader of like the region was kind of like, yeah, don't like get out of here, and one of the characters is like, we saved that guy. It's like, probably the other way around.
I've seen what he can do.
Yeah, so it's a nice tease. It's kind of like, and again, like I kind of got excited when I was reading that. It's kind of like, what can he do? Like what? Like is he just really good with a sword? Does he have like magic powers like some of these other characters? Possibly both.
Maybe a little bit of something else.
Oh, so yeah, like that was just one of those fantastic moments where, again, as a reader, I was kind of like, I want to see what he's like in action. Like, how badass is he? Again, is this going to be like a Vash the Stampede thing where he's just so powerful that's why he doesn't fight? Or again, so yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the first volume. So again, people listening to this, if you haven't checked it out, again, buy the physical copy or digital. Definitely check it out, especially since Volume 2 is going to be coming out shortly.
Yeah, like 6 weeks.
Yeah, like all of Volume 2?
All.
Or, oh, okay, yeah, so there you go.
So it'll be 212 pages. It'll be chapters 9 through 16.
So perfect time to jump on board.
It can get caught up right before it comes out. So.
Yeah.
And you will find out how close Finswell is to Thalion.
Okay, yeah. Because again, that was just one of my. I wouldn't even say really a nitpick of the first volume. It's just that was just me wanting more of kind of like the world and everything.
Now, Volume 2, they kind of get they kind of hole up in a town called Windrose, which is a little bit more advanced than you see in Finswell. Finswell is downtrodden.
Yeah.
Finswell in the story used to be a trading post, basically, where travelers would stop. Ships would there's airships.
Oh, okay.
In the world, you know what I mean?
So I wasn't sure. I thought it was just like a boat or something like that. But okay, airships.
Well, they are going to take a boat, but there are airships. Like some airships can double as boats too and land in the water. Some are just rickety boats.
Okay.
Nesden, who is the guy who walks out of the bar after the skirmish, and he's being talked to about his captain. He's like, hey, that guy comes back. He is actually a major player later in the story.
Interesting.
He services on an airship called the Gallimare, and so I won't get it, but that's an airship in the story. So, but when they get to Windrose, the first thing you see is like a kind of a car on blocks. It's kind of got these roots wrapped around it. You're like, what happened here? You know what I mean? And then there's power lines in the background. There's all kinds of stuff. So I mean, this is a more technologically sound area. Burgone, the kingdom, where they're having the meeting where they're trying to get Anea there. Yeah. Very technologically sound. The world capital, which hasn't even been mentioned yet, very technologically sound. The Darklands look that way because they are what they are. Everybody left. It's cursed. Everybody left. Nobody wants to be there. Yeah. It belongs to the bandits now, essentially.
Yeah, because Finswell kind of reminded me of like just like when you're watching like an old western, you see like that tiny little saloon town.
And that's exactly what it's meant to be. So good job.
Yeah.
That's I was raised watching old westerns with my dad, so I was like, okay, so the baddest person in town is always the sheriff. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how bad these scrubs are and stuff, they're afraid of the guy wearing the badge, So I was like, I wanted to make her the sheriff, riding up on like a big warg-looking thing. Yeah. So, and she is in Chapter 9, so when Chapter 9 comes out, there will be a lot with her talking about kind of where she's at with things. And they also introduce a concept of kind of like the family. There's a family of guardians in the story that have kind of left their post. Okay. They're kind of, it's not like they disappeared, they just don't care. You know what I mean? They're drunks and they're either on drugs or drunk or they just disappeared. They just don't care to try to keep things together anymore. So that's introduced by her in Chapter 9. So again, it's that whole thing I talked about with side characters setting up things. Yeah. And every character's important.
Yeah,
so
everything pays off eventually.
Yeah, everything has a payoff, exactly.
Okay. So do you... since we're going on about 40 minutes and have been having a little bit of technical issues here, I guess, like, do you have any, like, teases or anything like that for... Like, or that we haven't already talked about for Volume 2 or any other kind of projects you're working on before we...
Well, as far as Volume 2 goes, like I said, there's a big battle. Spoiler, it is not with the Makuhigaro, the assassin. It is not with him. He is still...
We've still got a pretty good, idea of what he's capable of, which...
You've seen about half of what he can do.
Oh, okay. All right. Awesome.
Because when he goes into the blessed mode, he didn't go under what is called in a story a full possession. Yeah. Like, the thing he was conversing with is very much a thing. Oh, okay. It's not a god like he thinks it is. It is a thing. Spirits and spirituality and other realm stuff kind of comes into play in Aurora. Okay. Which is... Well, I almost spoiled something. Which, anyway, but it's not with him. It is actually with a Burgoran lord. Oh, okay. There's Volume 2 circles around the story of a kidnapped Burgoran child. that happened in Windros. And so Renzia and Anea are kind of thrust into the middle of this political thing happening. And of course, it's really political because, there's some racial tension stuff happening. Burgurans are in Windros now to help protect because the people that were there on guard stationed there left.
Oh.
So the governing body of that town and that region had them come down from the north, like, hey, you can live here, be part of our culture. And they just want to be a part of the culture. But, of course, the regular human-type characters are just like, they're scared of them, so they hate them, So there's a lot of political stuff going on. This one lord his name is Odin. He shows up, and he's got these 7 other characters. And he is pulling from Norse mythology.
Yeah.
He calls them his eyes. They're the eyes of
Oh,
Odin.
okay.
So one of the eyes shows up at the end of chapter 9. And he actually saves one of the Burgurans from being murdered in an alley by these 3 punks, basically. He shows up, and it's a brutal, brutal beatdown, like broken arms and all that kind of stuff. Stabbing, all kinds of stuff. But he introduces this concept of this greater thing that's coming. Odin, his thirst for justice, as he calls it, calls for blood. And
very, very Norse-like.
in Burguran culture that I've written, they do this thing called absolute slaughter. Like, if they feel like they have been wronged, the lords are connected mentally with all Burgurans all over the world of Sereth. And if they declare absolute slaughter, they all go into like this feral rage mode.
Oh, wow.
So as he's getting ready to declare absolute slaughter, somebody's like, I gotta do something here to keep his mouth shut. So somebody jumps into the fray.
Interesting.
And, a 3-chapter battle ensues. And the thing is, when you get into the meat of the story, and all these people who are important in the story, Renzia comes off as unimportant, but all these important people have had experiences with him.
Yeah.
So his history kind of gets told through these different battles and through these different interactions. So as a writer, I don't have to browbeat you with, okay, here's a flashback. Here's a 2-volume flashback of everything that happened to him.
Yeah.
You'll get the picture, and you can paint the picture yourself. So as far as other projects I've got going on, right now I'm kind of stretching my legs back into fine art a little bit. I've got an idea for a 10 painting series of watercolor pieces I want to do, and I'm looking to start those this summer sometime when I start my show circuit pretty hard and heavy. So be looking for those. They'll be on the Ray Coffman art website. I'll be making prints of those and all that kind of stuff.
I meant to ask you about the touring thing too. Were you staying mostly, I know you were mentioning East Coast earlier, but kind of, Florida to New York, or more local, a bit more localized?
My goal is to do some shows in Florida, South Carolina, Baltimore Comic-Con, some other places up and down the coast, and trying to reach out outside of comic conventions like the art shows and stuff like that, and really kind of reaching a different audience, book fairs, stuff like that. Because Aurora does very well at book fairs.
Really?
Yes. People come up, they'll be like, oh, cool, this looks interesting, and I'll kind of tell some of my inspirations of what it is and how I'm kind of trying to break out of the bubble of, the comic books stay at a comic book convention. Yeah. I'm trying to break out of that kind of bubble,
media.
It's like, if you want a good story, here's a good story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's the kind of important thing with comics is, because even like now in this kind of golden age of comic book media we're living in with like all those shows and movies, there's still people that are like, comic books, they're just like those silly movies and stuff for kids to read. It's like, no, like they're great stories, not just in like, the independent stuff, which that's kind of more my thing than, I do love Marvel and DC, and there are some great stories in Marvel and DC, and it's just kind of like, take like the superhero or like Marvel and DC out of the equation, just take them at face value as a great story, and that's just a great way to kind of introduce people to comic books. It's just kind of like, look, take superheroes out of the equation, just read this at face value, and then people be like, oh, okay, this is what comics have to bring to just media as a whole.
Yeah, it's a visual novel. It's a visual story that you can follow along with. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, well, you don't like comic books. Do you like so-and-so show? Like, I was like, well, that started as a storyboard. This is just a storyboard for a story. It's all this is. laid out in a aesthetically pleasing
the
pleasing way.
The story.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's how you tell it.
But yeah, just trying to break out and try some different things, reach new audiences, and really, 2018, I kind of feel like it's kind of a rebirth year for me because I'm really infused with a great creative energy. Like I want to get back into doing a little music. I found like a notebook of old songs I wrote years ago. And I was like, oh man, this is some weird stuff.
So just something you did on your own, or did you play in bands and stuff?
I played with people. I was never like really in a band anybody would have heard of or anything like that. I was in a band with some guys, but it was never like, we never really played out much or anything like that. I was never really big on playing out. I was more about writing music. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Just playing for the fun of it.
Yeah, just creating something. At my heart, I'm just a creator.
Yeah.
And, as far as the comics and stuff, I want people to enjoy them. But with the music, I was just kind of like, I was always different. I would have been fine being the guy who composes something for like a movie. Yeah. That kind of guy. I don't have to play on stage. I don't need people throwing stuff at me. And
be a studio guy?
Yeah, just being a studio guy. Yeah, I totally would have been fine with that. And I still probably would be. Like, I've got an iTunes now. Like, I've got my book on iTunes. I should probably just release some stuff next year if I record it. I was actually talking to my buddy.
Concept album.
I was talking to my buddy Seth Wilson, who we've been friends since childhood. He's in a band called Chess Rockwell down in Bowling Green. They do kind of experimental type stuff a lot of times. And I was talking to him. I was like, man, I found all this old stuff. He's like, we never did start a band. And I was like, no, we never did. It's kind of weird. We started playing music together, and now he's got this really great music career and everything. He's got a couple projects he's in, and I'm just picking my acoustic guitar in between pages, But yeah, so I just want to put my hands in everything I can right now, while still, first and foremost, being a great husband, a great dad, and then letting everything else fall where it lays. But I think as long as I continue on the path of just creating new content, putting fresh stuff out there, telling my story with Aurora, doing all these other creative kind of things, don't limit myself to one type of thing. And I think as a creator, that's another little piece of advice that I've found. Like I said, I'm 38 years old, and for years and years and years, I just tried to limit myself to just focusing on this one thing. When I had all this, a lot of times my artist block wasn't artist block, because all these other things trying to get out of me, I kept trying to like restrain them in. You know what I mean? Reel it in. Don't reel it in, just let it all out. That's what I'm doing this year. 2018, I'm just letting it all out, So my Twitter's about to get weird probably this summer.
But again, you've been on a roll, because I'm not the most active person on Twitter, but every time I'm on, that's usually one of the first things on my news feed is you're updating, and sometimes showing screenshots of most recent panels. So again, if you have been reading Aurora, or if you're, I guess at some point if you get caught up, definitely just follow this man on Twitter, and you'll have your appetite satiated, little teases and nuggets of things to come.
And that's why I do it, because the Aurora Twitter has something over 2,000 followers now, and my personal Twitter has something like 4,300, I'm not really sure. But a lot of them are fans of mine from comic conventions and, reading the book and all that kind of stuff, and they're always like, when's the next one coming out? So I'm like, just follow me on Twitter, man. You'll see that I'm working on it. But I'm an indie guy, and I get it out when I can. I still have a day job and all that kind of stuff, but I took this week off to get things done. Like I told you when I came in, I feel like all I've been doing is running errands.
Sometimes we have to be human, and
But yeah, it's totally cool. I've gotten so many things off my plate this week, I didn't think I'd get off my plate. I thought I was going to lock myself in the studio for 10 hours a day. And I haven't. I've actually gotten real life stuff done, which is good, because I'm like, well, I don't have to do that next week now.
Yeah.
So.
And again, gives you more time to actually, just be creative, because you don't have to worry about all the other stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Now I can truly lock myself in there.
Yeah. So I guess before we wrap this up, again, if you want to promote all your, your Twitter, Patreon, all that stuff, and just some other upcoming projects you got going on.
Yeah, just on Twitter, you can follow me at Coffman20XX, COFFMAN20XX. That's the same handle on my Instagram, Coffman20XX. Facebook, my Facebook page is Ray Coffman Art. You can find me on there. I'm just trying to build that, because I've kind of recently seen the benefits of taking care of your Facebook page.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a thing I need to do. RayCoffmanArt.com and AuroraOfficial.com, ARAURA official.com. You can follow me on all those places. I've got a dead YouTube page if you want to look at that, but I really had no idea what I wanted to do with it when I started it. I'm no longer doing reaction videos and stuff like that. So if you liked them, great. I'm not doing any more. If you didn't like them, don't worry. There's no more coming. So.
Well, I know you did post a video. Again, this was months back about. I think it was like new anime versus like some of the older stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was a really good.
Well, I would like to do some more stuff like that in the future, but those take some time, as far as video editing and things like that. I've got a bunch of ideas for stuff like that, but it's one of those things where I was like, man, I just got to write that down and put it away, So hopefully at the end of this year I can pump out a few videos, but it's nothing like, I got an email from YouTube today. It's like, hey, we're doing a new creator thing and you will no longer be monetized because you don't have 1,000 followers. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care, YouTube. Screw it.
Yeah, their system seems to be kind of broken from everything I've been hearing.
So I just kind of rolled my eyes and deleted it. I was like, that's not even important anymore. But yeah, so in patreon.com/Ray Coffman, real easy. You can go on there for $3. If you back it for $3 a month, you get the first Aurora release for that month, and plus you get like for just $1, you get like your name and all of my creations on like a page for like thank you page for everybody.
Cool.
Some other stuff on there. $5 will get you everything Aurora that comes out for a month. So
there you go.
And it goes up. There's more stuff you can get. So. But yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff on there. I'm always taking suggestions if people have suggestions on things to do on there because I really want that to do well so I can have more time to create.
Yeah.
So if you have any suggestions how that can do well or be well, make a post on there. Let me know, or hit me on Twitter or whatever, and let me know what I can do better. I'm always looking to do things better because I do this stuff for you all. It's to entertain you all. I can sit around and write stories for myself all day.
Yeah.
But that's not going to get me anywhere. So, but I'm writing this stuff for you all. So you got a direct line to me. So you got a line into the vein. So you just let me know what you like, what you don't like, suggestions. I read it all. I listen to it all. So
cool. So yeah, check out all the things he's got going on. And again, definitely check out the first volume of Aurora. I thought it was really enjoyable. And I guess just side note, do you plan on coloring it at some point? Or is that a whole other thing?
If I have time. Now, one of the Patreon rewards was the highest tier. You could get a couple of the original pages I've got fully colored.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I had at the highest tier, I think I had 7 or 8 backers. It was like $188 tier or something like that. So they were like, yes, I want the original page full colored. So I've got one of my, probably the biggest Aurora fan out there is a guy named Aaron from, I won't give his full name because some people don't like to be on blast on radio, but he messaged me and he backed it. He threw a few extra dollars on it. I was like, you're getting the treatment, buddy.
You're getting the whole thing.
Yeah, so you're getting the treatment. So I'm taking a little extra time. I wanted the rewards to go out at the end of February. It's probably going to be more like March now because I want to take some extra time on those pages and get that stuff out there. So I'll probably send a message out to everybody. I know they don't like that, but it's not because I'm not working on it. It's just because, I'm a dad full time and a husband and work full time. So, but it is what it is. So it's all coming. But yeah, full color pages. I don't know, man. I wanted to. I've got 10 pages from chapter 1 that are fully colored on my computer. Yeah. And I just never had time to go back and work more on it, because everybody's like, man, your digital style even looks like watercolor and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm like, I know, it's awesome, right? Well, I can't paint all those pages, so you have to consider what it might look like. I don't know.
Well, an anniversary type of thing.
Maybe, yeah. When the story's over, who knows? If it gets picked up by somebody, who knows?
I mean, you have the poster
you can get some assistance.
The cover of the first volume, so that at least is a decent reference for how, or I guess the colors of
and I'm getting ready to dump a lot of character designs on the website. And they'll have fully colored character designs, character bios. Because right now it's just like a shot from the book of the character or whatever. But I've got some full character designs of them in motion or showing off their character a little bit. They'll be fully colored so people have a color reference for them. So that'll be going up probably around the middle or end of February.
Is that on the Aurora Official?
AuroraOfficial.com. Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff getting ready to go up there. I just have to have time in between pages to get them done, But there's a lot of world history stuff getting ready to go up, a lot of character stuff. The world map will be going up in February. I had to go back and edit some things on the world map because it had some giveaways for some stuff that's going to happen. They talk about a big war that happened called Kazogaru. And it's actually in the world history. They talk about it a little bit. And it's just a place that people shouldn't go, that some people live at. And when you look at it, you're going to think, man, that looks like it fell from the sky. Uh-oh. So I had to go in and kind of edit it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't. A little bit of a spoiler, but not total spoiler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway. But the map will be coming. A lot of stuff coming. Full color stuff coming. I got so much stuff I'm getting ready to unleash on people that I haven't been able to talk about because I didn't know when I'd get it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to be that guy that'd be like, yeah, man, I've got like 10 books coming out next month. You know, because I thought I could do it.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, one book comes out. So I've learned my lesson there. Like I've got all these great plans and all this stuff I'm hammering on. That's why I put stuff on Twitter and Instagram so much. Like, hey, working on it. Hey, working on it. Hey, you can say I'm working on it. I'm working
this is
on
what
it.
I'm working on. Currently can't promise anything else past this.
You know I'm working on
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And for me as an independent artist, that's what those things are for. Hey, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It should be called you can follow me on Hey, I'm working on it.
But again, like
New
you,
handle.
Yeah.
you are always hard at work on Twitter and social media. So again, like once you probably binge read the first volume and are left wanting more, like you'll have like again tasty little nuggets and information on what he's working on, what's coming next.
And that's why I wanted to release Chapter 9 before Volume 2 came out. What I want to do is get on a habit where every 2 weeks there's a digital chapter coming out.
Okay.
So building up a buffer of a full volume will get me on a good road to doing that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Fantastic. So thanks again for coming on here, and you all can always follow me at Irishman Jake on Twitter. You can continue subscribing here on the YouTube channel. We just recently passed 200. Finally, it seemed like we were stuck there for the longest time.
Again?
Yeah. And you can definitely check out my other podcast, Shogun's Gateway to Anime, which is all about anime. And then, of course, you have Jordan, one of the other co-hosts' podcast, Mild Mannered Movie Men, where he does with a good friend of ours, Phil, where it's all about movies. They review movies and just talk about all things movies and a little bit of TV here and there. So I'll leave links in the description for all of Ray's stuff, all of the other podcasts and social medias and all that stuff. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, everyone, cheers.